Hello, everybody. Daniel Harkavy here. I am grateful that you have made the decision to join me, an investment of time, which I absolutely know is your most precious resource. My desire is to add some real value to you in the moments ahead. Today, I'm going to be talking about leadership, and I think that there's an opportunity for myself as well as each and every one of you to improve your leadership. And today I want to talk about how we leaders can address the challenges of a modern leader. I think there have been some pretty significant changes to the environments in which we lead. And I think there's some unique challenges that maybe we wouldn't have faced if we were to have been leading 10, 20, 30 years ago, and many of you were. And I think a whole bunch of you are probably nodding with me going, yeah, it's a different climate today. But in that, there's still some tried and true leadership best practices that I'm going to camp on. So let me tell you, bottom line, I think that the greatest challenges for us as leaders really have to do with our time. And I think that time is where we're feeling the most compression. I think there have been challenges for leaders of every era, though. And I think we'd all agree that technology has been the largest change agent of our lives. Just this weekend, I was with my wife and my youngest daughter. I was with Sherry and Emily, and we were talking about technology because I was sharing with her, my young one who's 11, that in the old days, before we had the iPhone, if we wanted to know the exact time, we would call on our rotary dial telephone. We would call a number and we would hear general telephone time is 10:32, and then we started talking about the phones. And impatient me, I've always been somewhat of a spaz. For those of you who are maybe we'll just say close to me in age, you'll remember those rotary dial phones. And we would put our finger in and we would dial to the right. And if it wasn't fast enough for us, we would keep our finger in there and we would jam it back to the left, just trying to make connection faster. Just technology has just changed so radically in my lifetime. But what I find fascinating is how technology has changed the demands and the behaviors of us leaders. I really see technology as it was designed to make our lives better and how we lead better. And there are many aspects where technology has greatly enhanced how we do what we do. But there also have been some challenges. I remember getting my first role in management back in the 80s, and there were very few people had mobile phones. The big advancement was the pager. It was that big box-sized thing that we'd carried on our side, and that really changed how a lot of us interacted, how we connected with our teammates, how we sold, how we led, because that thing would go off, and in the midst of a conversation, beep, 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 or vibrate, and we'd run over, we'd drop our 2 dimes into a payphone, and we would disrupt one conversation in the pursuit of another. We were in that moment responding differently than we had in years past. Then a few of us started to drop about $2,500 for our mobile phone, and that was a big, small suitcase-sized phone that we'd put into our car, and that was a really cool deal. And we could be mid-conversation with our spouses or our kids or with clients or teammates in the car, and that thing would ring. We'd pick it up, and I don't know what we spent, but it was ridiculous. And again, technology progressing and changing how we leaders think and how we leaders communicate. But I really do look at that pager, and I think that's when the real behavior change started. If you wanted input, if you wanted an answer or a decision before the pager, you would write a letter. You'd pick up the phone and have a conversation. You get up off your butt, walk over across the building and have a conversation, or you jump into a car and you'd go drive to the other office or get together for a cup of coffee or for a meal. And I think the pace of leadership, it just enabled us to better connect. It enabled us to think more. It enabled us to ponder and to explore. There was really more time for us as leaders to collaborate with our teammates. Today, email for many of you, it's too slow. Many leaders are no longer using email as their preferred means of communication, and they're texting because we've got to be fast. We've got to be faster. We need input and answers faster. And I think what's at stake is really deeper connections. I think what's at stake is better thinking because we don't have the time that we used to. I think what's at stake is the time to gather opinions and to build consensus, or the time to get into real healthy debate. And I think what's at stake is our leadership, because we don't have the time. Okay, let me stop there. We're not making the time to be the best leaders we can be. We're still in control of our schedules, and we're still in control of how we communicate. And I think that what's at stake for us, the modern leader, the leader leading today's times, is really our decisions and our influence. And I think that if we do not think about our time differently, and if we do not think about how we're leading differently, the decisions we make and the influence that we have as leaders is at risk. So what I want to do is I want to talk about that. Technology, it was meant to help. And I think in many ways, if we don't really understand how to lead in these times, we're going to allow it to hurt. So there's some tried and true best practices for leaders that worked in generations before. They're going to work in in our generation today. And as I go through them, I'm confident that they can challenge you and hopefully help each and every one of you as I go through the topics. So I want to really talk to you about the anatomy of a leader, and I want you to take a leadership self-assessment. I have spoken about this in times past. I want to bring back some of these points, because doing what I get to do, having conversations that I get to have, it's one of the greatest blessings of doing what I do. Every single day, my team and I are working with leaders that are leading organizations that are far more complex. They're bigger, they're international, they're global, they're public, they have complex boards, they have difficult organizational matrix type structures. There are all sorts of dynamics that our clients are facing, and we as coaches are learning. And in that learning, what I'm seeing is that these tried and true best practices, they're global, they're relevant, and they can make a difference for you today. So as I go through them, I want you to assess how you're doing in each area. I want you to be real with your assessment. I want you to look for one or two ways that you can improve to really elevate your leadership in the weeks and months ahead. All right? So the first part of this self-assessment is going to be your head. I believe that your thinking, it's the foundation for your leadership. How you're thinking about every aspect of your business, how you're thinking about yourself as a leader, how you're thinking about your teammates and the business, and then the discipline that you have with regards to thinking, it's going to have a direct impact on the success you have as a leader in the months and years ahead. Oftentimes, our thinking is what's holding us back. It's not our competition. It's not disruption in our culture and our teams. It's not poor systems or technology. It's our thinking. We're not thinking well. And I'm telling you, as an executive coach, a guy who day in and day out works with people like you, the greatest opportunity for you is to elevate your thinking. You need to better understand how you're thinking, and oftentimes you need outside input to do that. See, your thinking impacts your beliefs, and your thinking and your beliefs impact your feelings or your emotions, how you feel about others or opportunities, and then how you feel to others. And then your thinking and your beliefs and your feelings impact all of your relationships. And leadership and influence is all about relationship to your team, relationship to your customer, relationship to the business. Your relationships are determined by your thinking, your beliefs, your feelings. And then all of those relationships are impacted by your actions, and those actions are going to directly lead to the results that you get. So when I'm working with a leader, when we're working with leaders, the first thing we're diving into is we want to know how you're thinking. We want to know what you're thinking about. We want to know how you're thinking about economic or legislative changes that are coming your way in the weeks or months ahead. We want to know how you're thinking about some of the challenges that you're having with your team. We want to know how you're thinking about some of the limitations or obstacles that you're having in leading your organization or dealing with some of the hurdles that are coming your way. Your thinking is where we always start. So your thinking. Are you getting the right input? Do you have, as Dr. Henry Cloud says, do you have outside energy and outside knowledge coming into you? What are you reading? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to individuals that are affirming and saying good job and kudos to you? Or do you have people around you that are challenging your thinking because they see that your thinking could improve? You need that outside external input to elevate your thinking. We've never arrived. Our thinking about ourselves. If I'm going to work with a leader who's in trouble, 9 times out of 10, it has to do with how they think about themselves. It has to do with an emotional intelligence issue. There's an insecurity that they're dealing with or a fear that they're dealing with. And as a result of that, they're imploding and they're setting bombs off on their team or with their customers. They may be the smartest individuals in the room, but how they're thinking about themselves in the midst of problem or relationship is negatively impacting them. Maybe how they're thinking about themselves, it's causing pride issues or, maybe anger, fear issues. I've got leaders that they're thinking about others and how they see others and what they think about others causes them to really have minimal influence, but they're super smart people. Our thinking, do we have dedicated time to thinking? This is one of the greatest challenges of the modern leader, is we do not carve out time to just think, to assess, to reflect. Later, I'm going to talk about an amazing gift that you could receive if you should join us in September at the experience. There is built-in time for you to think about your business and your life, and then there's guidance to put plans in place so that you can continue to improve. But do you have that type of rigor and discipline in your weeks to where you get to unplug from the react, respond, and actually think, assess, adjust? The best leaders, they have a non-negotiable discipline around their thinking or on time. And then how are they thinking with their team? Oftentimes leaders in their thinking, they think that they're the ones that have to have all the answers. So what they do is they're kind of superhero leaders. Instead of building teams and teaching their teammates to think and challenging them to come up with solutions to problems. The best leaders create organizations where coming up with great solutions and thinking about ways to solve problems or capture opportunities and thinking outside of the box, it's the norm. And they lead in ways to where everybody participates in that. They create a solutions mindset culture. They're always thinking about solutions and empowering and expecting their teammates to come to points of solution instead of just points of problem. The next area I want you to assess after you assess your head and your thinking is I want you to assess your heart and what you believe. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but without conviction, your leadership is going to be flat. Belief resides in our heart. Our teams want us to take a stand. Our customers want us to take a stand. We've got to have courage. That courage not just resides in our head, but it's really living in our heart. And earlier I said your thinking impacts your beliefs. They're brilliant leaders, really smart managers that could improve their leadership if they would just take a stand. And our teammates want us to. In today's times, I've seen wishy-washy men and women in leadership positions. What do you stand for? What do you believe about your business? What do you believe about your teammates? What do you believe about your customers? Our vision is always birthed in what we believe. Are you building an organization, or have you built an organization that has been designed or is being designed to serve you? Or are you building and leading an organization that is going to go way beyond you? You're creating an environment and leading those on your team on a mission to create something greater than what it's experiencing today and how it's serving the client today. Your beliefs and what you believe about the future will impact the risks that you take, the investments that you make, the strategies that you deploy. We've got to have deep belief in our future state and in the opportunities ahead. But oftentimes, our belief won't be where it could be because of our eyes. Our perspective's not right. If you want to increase passion and increase belief, you've got to gain clarity on the destination. So all the time. Many of you have been listening to me for decades, and you know that leadership and vision go hand in hand. If you want to elevate your passion, if you want to elevate engagement, if you want to elevate execution and engagement and improve culture, then you've got to continually see a tomorrow that is better than today. So what do you see for the future? Do you have a vision that is both clear and compelling? Are you camping on that and thinking about that so that it's not just in your head and cerebral, it's in your heart, and it's causing you to deepen your convictions so that you're emboldened and taking more risk as you invest and you develop people? We've got to be passionate about the opportunity that we have as leaders. There's a burden and a responsibility here. What do we believe about people? So often I see improvement opportunity with our clients because what they believe about their teammates is impacting their actions. I can still remember this, where I was with a really brilliant leader. This guy is a thought leader, written numerous books, and he speaks everywhere, and he's highly esteemed. But I remember seeing outward actions that told me what his beliefs were about those on his team. I was sitting with him face to face. We were going to get a cup of coffee. We're in his office, and he opens up a change drawer and he grabs all sorts of change. And he calls out in a loud, harsh bark to his assistant. And he says, "Hey, go get Daniel and I a cup of coffee and a croissant or something to eat." This was a couple decades ago. And he says, "And if there's anything left over, get yourself something too." And he hands her all sorts of change. Now, this is a guy who's driving one of the most expensive cars, living in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in our country. He didn't need to grovel through change and give his assistant that and then tell her she could get something with the leftovers. But it was in that moment where I thought, oh my gosh, what this guy believes about those on his team is can have some real negative consequences on how he leads his organization. And I can tell you, for the last 2 decades, this has been a leader who has had very few followers. Who you are as leaders, it's directly going to be impacted by what you believe about your role and the people around you. There's a dangerous shift that happens with leaders. Leaders, in their belief, they believe that the organization is now where it needs to be. It's arrived and it's now serving them, and they want to build a fence around it and start to protect it. So they stop taking risks because it's comfortable for them. And in that moment, the organization starts to die. What do you believe about the future? If you don't see something and believe in something in the future that is greater than what you're experiencing now, if you can't see it and get excited about it, then how you lead, the decisions you make are going to have negative consequences on the entire organization. So we've talked about your head, your thinking, your heart, your believing, your eyes, and what you're seeing. And do you see today's business and the current reality? And do you see the future state? I could lead a whole call on this, on the perspectives of a leader. Check out my blog. You can go to the buildingchampions.com website /blog. And I did earlier this year a whole series on the perspectives of a leader. It's all around what you see. You can do a much deeper dive on this because I think there's great opportunities for you to improve your decision making and your influence by improving what it is that you see. Let's move to the next part of our leadership that we need to self-assess. And really, that's our communication. It's our ears and our mouth. Because us modern leaders are compressed for time, and we're communicating in 64 character little text bites or in tweets, what we've got to do is we've got to really make sure that we're taking time to effectively communicate. Organizations get in trouble all the time because we're not effectively doing this. And I know many of you are gifted communicators, meaning gifted talkers. But in today's times, are you gifted listeners? About a month ago, one of our leaders here in the organization challenged me. We were having some challenges organizationally, and I could just feel the culture was starting to get a little wonky. And one of our leaders said, "Daniel, I don't think you're asking the right questions." What she was talking about was, am I asking the right questions to get the right input so that I can make the best decisions and have the most influence? As leaders, we need to make sure we are taking time to listen. And that is at great risk right now with this compression of time. Remember this, the number one way you show you care for people is listening to them. I'm talking about active, engaged listening, and not just hearing, but truly listening. With regards to communication, I've got ears and mouth, because what we're saying matters. We can't go off half-cocked. I've worked with all sorts of leaders who have great ideas, and they will share their great ideas with their organizations, but how they communicate, it's not clear or concise. So those on their team, they hear these great ideas and they believe that their leader is saying, okay, let's now go after those. And it creates the start and stop reaction to our leaders and teams are completely chaotic, because the leader has an idea and says, hey, we should try this. And all of a sudden it's a new strategy and people are spending time, wasted time working on it, when we haven't really given it thought to think about if it's in alignment with our vision and if it's going to best serve our customers. So watch what you're saying. In the whole area of ears and mouth, leaders today, we've got to be so clear. We have to truth tell. We have to engage in conflict. We have to take the time to truly sharpen our teammates. I know for some of you, as you're going through the self-assessment, the whole topic of conflict, the whole topic of confrontation is difficult for you. And there's some of you where it's not difficult, it's actually something you like, and you folks need counseling. But conflict and confrontation, for most of us, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. But we have to believe the best about people, which is why I say the heart piece earlier. And we have to care enough to engage in truthful conversation to sharpen one another, not just on results, but on behaviors. The best leaders, they're sharing with their teammates when they see behaviors, and they're holding them accountable to behaviors that are not in alignment with their vision and their culture. And we need to be doing that. We need to be communicating. We've got a great CEO client who is just, their business grows and grows and grows. Their culture continues to improve. And every single Friday, this leader has a 2-hour open phone call. It's a town hall meeting where he's just throwing it out there saying, all right, what do we need to do to improve in the week ahead? And anybody can get on this call. And for 2 hours, he's taking notes and answering questions. And he's been doing it for years. And I think it is one of the key disciplines. Are we leaders making time to actually ask the questions and listen to our people? Are we leaders repeating our vision over and over and over again? Are we sharing what it is that we see and what we believe for the future? All of this goes in line. We can't think about vision and future and believe in vision and future if we're not sharing our vision and future. So our communication, our ears and our mouth need to be birthed out of what it is that our eyes see, our hearts believe, and our heads are thinking about. All right. Don't miss this one. When I'm talking about I'm going to go back to the communication one real quick. One final point on that. On the eyes, on the ears and the mouth, you've got to have somebody, us leaders right now, you have to have somebody that's speaking into you, whether it's a board of advisors, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a guide. You need to be listening to somebody that can help you to gain the right perspective. I've got people on my team and people surrounding me that I can just go to when I'm getting a little bit lost or confused. And I need to be asking those questions and then really listening. And we all need that type of a guide or an advocate who will care enough and who has the experience and the knowledge and the skill to ask us and then to counsel us in ways that are going to truly help us. The next thing that we leaders need to assess is our hands and our feet, and this is what we're doing. And I'm just telling you, leaders, you're spending too much time in your offices and you're not spending enough time out with the folks doing the work. I mean, end of story. As I look at leaders and I get to work with them, and if I'm looking for common themes of leadership, leaders are not up and out enough. They're not connecting with the most appreciable asset in the firm. Too many leaders are bolting through the front doors and going right into their offices, closing the door and locking down on email. And they're walking right by all of the people that are doing the work. There's huge opportunity for many of you to improve here. You've got to see that a non-negotiable discipline for you, your hands and your feet need to be having you face to face, connecting with the people doing the work. So don't let your feet take you right into your office so that your head's down and email in the morning. You need to have time, open door time, to actually do the work of connecting, of listening and communicating, and it has to be built into your schedule. Your hands and your feet, what you need to be doing, you need to be observing your leaders and your teammates in action. You need to be watching them and listening to them and observing how they're doing it so you can praise and direct. The doing, you cannot be overdoing. You cannot be micromanaging or over-empowering. There's a balance here. You need to make sure that you are well prepared for your one-on-ones and for your meetings. I'm seeing so much inefficiency in team meetings and in one-on-ones because leaders are flying in without clarity around the desired end result. People don't know what we're meeting about. Hey, write this down, all of you. What's the problem we're trying to solve, or what's the opportunity we're trying to capture? If you could bring that into all of your meetings, if you could bring that thinking into all of your kind of team encounters, that right there, problem we're trying to solve or opportunity we're trying to capture, would bring you such desired end result clarity, so much efficiency in how you communicate. Too many of us are wasting too much time in too many inefficient meetings. Your hands and your feet, watch your pace. Some of you are walking too fast. You're walking right by people. You're walking right by all of those that are going to help you to build the vision that you see. Your hands and your feet, are they taking you to the customer? I think there's great opportunity for us to be talking to our customers, but we need to have built into our schedule the discipline of face-to-face time or phone time with our customers, because we can trust the surveys, we can trust the process, but we need to follow up. And the best leaders have a discipline of sitting in the kitchen with their customers, on the phone with their customers, grabbing coffee with their customers. I'm talking about massive global organizations because CEOs want to be connected to the product. Your hands and your feet need to take you to those that are buying your product or your services. The next area, the final area in this self-assessment, is who you are. I don't think there's ever been a time like there is today where we have people crying out for integrity for us as leaders. Your personhood must be worth following. It breaks my heart, absolutely breaks my heart, to see some of the brightest, most gifted, most skilled, amazing leaders blowing their leadership and their lives apart because they're pursuing short-term pleasure. They're being deceived. They're not walking with integrity. They're one person between the 9 to 5, and there's somebody else between the 5 and 9. Our teammates, they're watching us. They're making decisions on who we are, on our hearts and on our heads and what we believe based upon the words, our pace, what they're seeing, if there's discrepancy between our actions and our words, and then they're making decisions on our followership. Will they engage? Will they trust? Will they stretch? Or will they look at their 9 to 5 as just a job? Or will they fully engage into a mission because they see you as a leader? You're worth following. So they're watching you. They don't need you to scratch every itch. They don't need you to please all of them. They want to know that you're a leader who hears and that in the end makes the best decision. They're watching us. They're making decisions on their careers, their futures, and what types of companies we're going to lead, what kind of departments we're going to lead based upon our personhood. This is where a life plan really plays a key role. They're watching how you invest your time. They're listening to your words. They're listening. How do you speak about customers? They're listening. How do you speak about fellow teammates? They're listening. How do you speak about your spouse or your kids? They're listening and watching. How do you speak to the person at the checkout counter or the server or everybody? Do you see people as equals, all designed and created for special purposes and gifts? Or do they see you and hear you as one who has classes and you see people differently? They're looking for oneness in each and every one of us. Our outward actions help them to make a decision about who we are. We cannot miss this. So for those of you, as you're doing this anatomy assessment and your overall leadership, maybe the life plan is the place for you to start. Maybe it's your vision. Maybe you need to put together a solid 90-day plan because you need to improve on some of the disciplines that will enable you to do the work that's required of you as leaders. It's the doing piece. My hope is that in all of this, you found one or two areas where you can improve. Bottom line is the challenges that we're facing as modern leaders, it all comes down to time. We're so compressed. There's so much coming at us. We're expected to have real-time responses right now, every day, and it's a challenge. And earlier I said there's a gift for you, and that is for you to join us in September. I wholeheartedly believe this. I think that this is for many. We've been doing this for 8 years now. This is a highlight for many each and every year. You can come into the fourth quarter having experienced really 3 days of intentional coaching, to where we build in the time for you to think, to reflect, to assess what type of an organization do you want to lead? How do you want to improve your leadership? How do you want to improve your life? And we as coaches will guide you with the processes and the tools that could really make this a game changer for each and every one of you. If you want more information or you want to reach out to us, please do so. info@buildingchampions. That's how you can email us. We'll respond to all of your requests there. If you want any of the tools that I've talked about, the life plan, the vision, the 90-day business plan, I would be more than happy to share those with you. You can follow us at Facebook or on Twitter. And hey, we really always appreciate the opportunity to invest in you. I know that right now we are at the 30-minute mark. I'm okay sticking around for a couple minutes. For those of you that need to go. But if any of you have questions, you can type them on in, and I would be more than happy to respond to a few of the questions. Thank you very much for the affirmation that this was a great call. I really appreciate it. And yes, the recording will be available. There won't be a transcript. We're not doing that. We are doing that. I'm so sorry. I'm being told we're doing that. The organization is better than, that's awesome. All right, so we've got transcript and a recording available. You can check out the Building Champions site under resources and you'll find that. It'll be posted in a day or so ahead. All right, do we have any other questions for any of you folks? Anything above or below? No, I'm seeing folks are having to drop off. It's hard to read that one there. All right, well, it looks, oh, thank you. Thank you for the affirmation on our team. Yes, I am surrounded by amazing, amazing people. Hey, folks, honestly, each and every one of us, we have an opportunity to improve. As I'm talking about leadership, I want you guys all to know that I, as a leader, am working on it as well. I don't have it figured out. And oftentimes, as I'm leading these calls, my hope is that they're beneficial for you, but they're definitely solidifying and challenging for me as well. So if we can help you in any way, shape, or form, please reach out. Thanks for investing with us. We'll keep you posted as to what our topics are going to be in the months ahead. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.